Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another Throw Everything development update, and today I would like to announce that we have a private alpha going. So a few people have been able to try the game out, and it's been pretty decent so far. I feel like we've definitely come a long way with the game, so let me show you what enabled us to release a private alpha. So let's start with the biggest feature, because I know that's very interesting. I mean, there are so many things that have changed here just by looking at the title screen, but we'll go over all of them individually, because it's difficult for me even to wrap my head around all the new features that we added this past month. So the biggest thing that we added was a loadout shop. One of the things that our game was missing was a good progression system, because you'd play the game and you wouldn't really get anywhere, enemies wouldn't get more difficult, you wouldn't get more points for going farther. I mean, there wasn't any incentive to play past the first level, so we've at least introduced something to account for that. The loadout shop is basically just a place where you can buy items for your next run. So here I buy some dynamite, some arrows, and I buy them. I can refresh the shop to get better items, because, you know, maybe the ones that are here to sell aren't that great. And yeah, I could go into the next run with those things. So I could go in with a full inventory of dynamite, just explode everything, or commit chemical warfare with a bunch of poison potions. So you might be asking, how do you even get the coins to buy this stuff in the loadout shop? Well, we added an entire system for meta currency, or money that you get between runs that you can use to spend on maybe characters in the future or other things that we're going to come up with. So the idea is that you go into a run and you can fight enemies, and every time you kill enemies or loot chests, you get score. And there's a bunch of different actions that will give you score, and at the end of the run when you die, your score will be converted into meta currency, or those gold coins that we used in the shop. That's kind of the progression of the game. You go play the game, you fight stuff, you do your best to get as many points as you can, and then you end the run, and then you can go into the next run with better items. Because we added a score system, I thought it would also be cool to track high scores, because that's another cool thing for players to do, and just throw in the most enemies that you've killed during a run, and the most areas that you've traveled during a run, because why not? Just another cool thing for players to shoot for. In addition to all this, there were quality of life improvements. Most of them were with the inventory. You can shift click from chests and shift click into chests. You can loot all items out of a chest. And there's quick trashing, so that way you can get rid of items out of your inventory a lot faster now. Another cool thing that we fixed was the player getting stuck on trees, which generally makes the game a lot more playable and a lot easier to navigate the player with, because running into trees now doesn't have as big of a consequence, because you don't just get completely stuck on them. We also took some time to do some updates to the forest environment, like adding a bandit camp, wasp nest, wolf den, and goblin hole. We made all the bridges wider on existing rooms so that the enemy AI knows how to get across, and so that it's easier for you to get across. We also allowed you to go behind hills so that your depth perception and immersion are a little bit better. And finally, we decided to add some grass, and it really does make it look a lot more like a forest. So now that the game is pretty much playable and an actual video game, I decided to release it to a small group of alpha testers just to get some initial feedback. And the game was so incredibly broken that I had to launch 2 hotfixes already before this video even came out. That's why the video was delayed. I literally had to just drop everything and get the game playable again, so I could record footage and so my playtesters could actually try the game out for real. One thing we're doing properly this time, because I think it's a nice to have and we can't really go back on it later, is proper archival of all of our versions. This time I'm actually posting all the builds to GitHub, so that way we don't lose them, and we make sure that everything is labeled properly and all good. And I really think that this is a cool thing that people are going to appreciate if the game releases. I really just think that this is just a good idea to get started on. So, what does the roadmap look like now that we have a stable release? Well, one of the big issues that I had getting this release out was making the grass work. it was such a pain, and the system that we have built up for placing stuff in the world just isn't where it needs to be. And I think I'm going to be overhauling that entire system this week, because if we do it now, it's going to save us a lot of time later, and I just spent too many hours placing grass to ignore. So that's the biggest, most immediate, important thing that needs to get done. We're also probably going to add a tutorial, because not having one is just like... it makes it so difficult for people to get into the game. And I think that we could do it in a way that doesn't consume a bunch of development resources. So I think that's also a priority for us to get done. We're also probably going to add a boss soon. I think that having a consequence for just rushing through all the areas is probably a good idea, and will definitely change the way that players play the game. And will also just be a cool and fun thing to fight. After that, I'm probably going to spend some time reworking the bow. Why do I count this as a separate item? Because it's going to take a lot of time to redo systems in the game. Like, I have to add homing, I have to allow items to take other items out of your inventory, I have to make the bow shoot arrows, I have to make the arrows know where other enemies are so the homing works. I mean, there's just so many different things that need to happen to get that to work, but if I do get them to work, we have a ton more tools to play with for the next items that we're going to make. And then there's the fact that we don't have any music or sounds in the game at all. And I mean, that is just such a vital part of the game that I'm going to have to address it sooner or later. Even though I have no idea what I'm doing, I'm going to have to jump into it blindfolded and just like try stuff out, which I already did a while ago and failed miserably because there were other more important things like the gameplay to get working on. But yeah, I'm definitely going to have to address it soon because we're running out of things to do before we make a public release. So yep, that's definitely going to be happening soon. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got. Thanks for watching, and definitely join the Discord so you can get access to the public alpha when it drops. Thanks guys, and I'll see you later.